Good morning. Welcome to the first podcast of the What the Hell Do We Know? What I'd like to show you today is a piece of technology that we have been testing in our labs for the last several months. It's a rather nice little piece of equipment. There's not many of them on the market, and we've tested this one quite thoroughly and have decided that it's worthy of putting on the air. This is the Viking TBB1 antimatter to coleslaw converter. What this does is take your standard garden variety anti-proton hydrogen and convert it directly into consumable coleslaw. Now, there are other units that can be purchased, and actually this one can even be reprogrammed to provide other staples, but the output port is rather limited. So you're limited to things like coleslaw, mashed potatoes, jello, gravy, anything that can be basically pushed out through that port. And you go in for your larger grains, your spaghettis, things like that. It gets a little messy, but it does work. The 1 microgram container here handles your basic anti-proton hydrogen, which is available at most of the Circle K outlets, the occasional 7-Eleven. It's not difficult to find. It is rather pricey, though. The 1 microgram container is relatively easy for those of you with fingernails to remove. It's a standard microgram container. The only issue we have had with this is that occasionally the magnetic bottling gets weak or it fails, and it's probably something you ought to prepare for because it will happen. It's not that big of a deal. You probably don't want to let children have it, as full containment failure would probably cause a 1 to 5 kiloton nuclear explosion, and that will really mess up your afternoon barbecue. The controls are rather simple. It's on or it's off. There are some binary settings on the inside that can be factory preset as to whether or not you wish onions near coleslaw, capers, things like that. But the standard module is actually set pretty well. Runs your basic antimatter anti-proton directly through a pattern buffer. The pattern buffer strings it into proteins. Proteins will be strung into complex molecules. Complex molecules will be assembled and put into your basic coleslaw configuration. Larger models can do steaks, roasts, turkeys, things like that. We've tested it quite thoroughly. Seem to enjoy it. I think for the cost, it actually is pretty compatible with most people's budgets. The antimatter supply does get a little spendy, but the price will be coming down as the availability goes up. Again, Viking TBB1 antimatter to coleslaw converter. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about something a little bit heavier. We have the EMI chest-mounted heat beam projector. This is basically pretty handy for starting fires at long distance, keeping small children and dogs off of your lawn, basically amusing your friends. It does have some practical applications if you're into arson, or if you happen to have a job with the government that simply requires you lighting fires while maintaining a safe distance. There is some military application for this, but those are not available for the general public. Anyhow, until next week, thanks a lot.